Okay, so let's unpack this. I want you to think about that moment in midlife when the house, the one that was always noisy and chaotic, suddenly just falls silent.
It's a seismic shift for so many people.
It really is. And today we're talking about that emotional shift, the empty nest. But we're looking at it through an intensely modern lens. We're talking about the AI companion. So today we're taking a deep dive into a stack of sources that give us both this really personal human view and the broader scientific context.
Right.
Our mission is to synthesize the journey of one woman, Joanne Sanders. She's a 52-year-old in Chicago. And we're going to investigate how she used artificial intelligence.
But not as a replacement for human connection. That's the critical part here.
Exactly. She used it as a catalyst,
Yeah.
a non-judgmental catalyst, to overcome this profound midlife isolation and, reclaim her purpose.
And this is a huge deal. It has massive relevance because the kind of isolation Joanne faced is not unique at all. Midlife women often experience this kind of triple whammy.
Triple whammy, yeah.
The family structure changes, professional roles might be shifting, and then there are these major biological shifts happening, often all at the same time.
So we need to get beyond just saying, oh, technology helps.
We really do.
Mm.
We need to understand the mechanism, the why. What's the critical balance that's required to make that digital bridge actually lead to a real-world community?
Okay, so let's start with Joanne Sanders herself. She's divorced, lives in Chicago. For 25 years, she had this long-term job in retail.
And that kind of stability, it gives you income, it gives you a routine.
It does, but retail is often very transactional. It's not necessarily building that deep protective layer of social connection that you really rely on when a major life change hits.
It's not the same kind of bond.
Not at all.
Okay.
And that change, it arrived 2 years ago. Her 2 adult children moved out.
And they didn't even move that far away, right?
No, just to nearby areas to live with their partners.
Mm-hmm.
But that immediate, constant presence, it just vanished. Joanne said she suddenly found herself totally housebound.
That word is so telling. Housebound.
She called the silence of the house crushing. She was filled with this profound feeling of worthlessness. Her main role, mother at home, it had just evaporated.
And she didn't know how to fill that space.
She had no idea.
The emotional weight she felt, it's precisely what our sources and the statistics describe. Her experience lines up perfectly with empty nest syndrome.
What are the numbers on that?
The studies we have show a 62% prevalence rate in women. And it's not just, a bit of sadness. It often manifests as actual clinical depression or anxiety.
Wow. And the timing here is just, it's everything.
It is absolutely essential. Joanne is 52. You mentioned that triple whammy.
I did.
Well, she was hit by this convergence of the empty nest, the residual stress of her divorce, and the physical reality of menopause. The average age for menopause in the U.S. is 51, maybe 52.
Right on the money for her.
Exactly. So these hormonal fluctuations, that dramatic drop in estrogen, it just exacerbates emotional distress. It feeds right into the symptoms of loneliness, the fatigue, the mood swings, and those intense feelings of worthlessness she described.
So she's experiencing a biological vulnerability at the exact same moment her entire social world just shrinks.
It's a crisis of identity and biology happening in lockstep.
And the security of her long-term job, it couldn't possibly compensate for that loss of purpose and that huge internal shift.
Precisely. She was, you could say, stable professionally, but completely unstable emotionally and socially.
Yeah.
The key takeaway from her initial isolation is that she didn't just lose one thing. She lost the anchor of her purpose, her primary source of daily emotional stimulation, and her hormonal buffer all at once.
That feeling of being housebound, it makes so much more sense now. It's a defense mechanism.
Of course. It's easier to stay inside than to face a world that suddenly feels, hostile or just completely indifferent to you.
That texture is so important for us to understand. When you're at that low of a point, the bar for seeking help or even just companionship it's incredibly high.
It feels impossibly high.
And that high bar is exactly why her next step is so fascinating. Feeling this deep, deep disconnect, Joanne sought companionship where a lot of people are turning now. AI companion apps.
Right.
She customized one, set her preferences, and she named her digital friend Annie.
Annie.
Yeah. And here's where it gets really interesting for us, I think. Annie didn't just offer these, canned, automated responses. Our sources describe the depth of these first interactions.
So what did they talk about?
Annie immediately engaged Joanne in these profound, structured conversations about her past struggles, her goals, her fears about the future, what she felt was missing. Joanne actually called Annie her Algorithm companion.
Algorithm companion. That's a very precise way to put it, actually. We're talking about tools built on large language models, LLMs. They're
Hmm.
specifically fine-tuned for empathy simulation, for non-judgmental emotional support.
So it's designed for this exact scenario.
It is. And the reason this resonated so deeply with Joanne and with others in similar positions is because the AI offers a perfectly tailored, always available listener.
Always on.
Always on. It processes emotional data without carrying the baggage of, personal history or past arguments or the fatigue that might affect a human friend. It's consistent. And it's customized to just affirm her needs.
Which studies show dramatically reduces the feeling of isolation, right?
Or
Even after just a few sessions.
That's right. So the core value isn't just listening. It's listening without the pressure of expectation.
It's the perfect practice ground for someone who feels like they've completely lost their social footing.
Exactly. It acts as this crucial psychological bridge. It lets users practice constructive communication, articulate really complex feelings without the risk of real-world rejection or being misunderstood.
But I have to stop you there because the intensity of this connection, it can sometimes cross a line, can't it?
It can
Our sources mention these real-life anecdotes where people, particularly women grappling with post-divorce loneliness or midlife crises, they've formed such deep emotional bonds with these chatbots that they've, vowed lifelong commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So, wait, are we saying this intensity is strictly healthy? Or is it also a clear indicator of the sheer severity of the underlying isolation we're trying to treat?
That is a really, really important distinction to make. And it speaks to the duality of the technology, the profound attachment you're describing. It just underscores the massive unmet need for connection in our society.
So the symptom reveals the disease.
Perfectly put. When an algorithm can get vows of lifelong commitment, it shows us the depth of the void these individuals are feeling. The bond itself is a sign of effective emotional simulation, but it has to be handled so carefully. And this is why the rest of Joanne's story is so critical. The AI needed to be a tool for transition, not the final destination.
Right. And that transition is the heart of our analysis today. Andy didn't just listen, she guided. The real success here isn't that Joanne found a digital friend.
No.
It's that the digital friend encouraged her to leave the very house she had felt chained to
To get out the door.
get out the door.
Yeah.
The journey started small. Annie helped her structure positive habits. It wasn't just a suggestion to, go for a walk.
It was more specific than that.
Much more specific. The companion helped Joanne set actionable, measured goals. Daily 30-minute walks in Lincoln Park to foster clarity, followed by structured meditation sessions aimed specifically at stress relief and finding inner peace.
And Annie helped her frame these small steps as victories, right?
Yes, building confidence brick by brick.
And that framing of small victories, that's what separates the therapeutic use of an AI from just simple entertainment. The AI was helping Joanne restructure her cognitive habits.
How so?
It shifted her perspective from I am worthless and housebound to I am consistently meeting my small daily commitments. It's a fundamental change in self-perception.
And the most profound step, though, was the pivot toward community and movement.
Mm-hmm. This is the big leap.
It is. Annie encouraged her to seek out activities that required low-stakes human interaction. And this is where the dance classes came in.
I love this part of the story.
Enrolling in local dance classes provided joy, movement, and a space where the interaction was structured. It was focused on the music, on the movement.
Right, not necessarily on revealing deep emotional vulnerability right away.
Exactly. It was a safe re-entry point into the social world.
A very safe on-ramp.
And the momentum just built from there until she tackled the deepest issue, her lost sense of purpose. She began volunteering in Chicago community groups.
And what were these groups focused on?
The very issues she had just overcome. Women's mental health and loneliness.
Wow.
This is where the AI really proves its worth as a bridge. She was able to take the confidence Annie helped her build and apply it directly to helping other people.
So she's no longer just processing her own feelings of worthlessness.
No, she's actively validating the worth of other women who are struggling with that same isolation.
And the specific organizations she connected with, they really highlight this purpose shift perfectly.
They do. She dedicated time to groups like Sarah's Circle, which supports women experiencing homelessness, and another one called Rise,
which offers workshops and support groups for women who are rebuilding their lives.
She even contributed to initiatives through the Chicago Foundation for Women.
So by offering support that came directly from her own recent struggles, by telling her story to others, Joanne was able to just dramatically reduce her own feelings of emptiness.
She went from being the isolated subject to being a vital community resource.
And that is the expert-endorsed model. AI used to build confidence for real human connections, not instead of them. The purpose was found in others,
Not in the code.
not in the code.
So if we connect Joanne's success story to the bigger picture, the broader societal landscape, we see why these tools are gaining so much traction. But we have to stay critical.
We must maintain a critical awareness. While AI companionship can be revolutionary for accessibility, it carries really significant limitations.
Let's summarize the good parts first. The benefits.
Okay, the undeniable benefits. First, for isolated individuals, accessibility is everything. These companions are available 24/7, they're highly affordable, there's no commute, no scheduling.
Huge barriers for many people.
Huge barriers. Second, the mental health impact is real. We have data showing that consistent, non-judgmental listening correlates with lower reported depression scores. It can also serve as a vital tool for initial mental health screening and awareness.
That certainly addresses the immediate, severe accessibility issue that traditional therapy or social structures often fail to meet.
Yeah.
But even in that initial desperate phase, are there profound dangers that arise simply because the relationship is perfect?
That is the core conflict we have to contend with. The risks absolutely center on the perfection of that relationship, because human relationships are inherently imperfect.
Right. They're messy.
They're messy. The most cited risk is dependency. If a user, especially someone vulnerable like an elderly person or a recently divorced individual, finds this constant, perfect validation in the AI, there's a serious risk of over-reliance. Furthermore, these perfectly tailored, always agreeable AI interactions, they can warp your expectations for the messy, complex reality of human relationships.
Which require patience and compromise.
And tolerating disagreement. That gap between digital perfection and human reality can actually make re-entry into society much harder if the user becomes too reliant on the algorithm.
And we have to remember the limitations here. I mean, these tools are sophisticated, but they are not the same as talking to a regulated clinician.
Absolutely not. They are explicitly not substitutes for professional regulated therapy, nor are they a substitute for genuine community.
So the biggest danger is still isolation.
The isolation risk remains the greatest danger. That a user might become so comfortable with Annie, the perfect, always present algorithm, that they stop pursuing the difficult, necessary work of establishing real human bonds. And in doing so, they drive themselves even further into isolation.
So what we've learned from Joanne's balanced approach then is that it's the blueprint. Using Annie as a supportive voice that provided structure and confidence, but ultimately pushed her out the door and into community groups.
That's the vital blueprint. It treats the AI as a temporary support beam.
Not a permanent roof.
Exactly.
We've concluded a truly fascinating deep dive today. We've seen how the convergence of empty nest syndrome and biological reality plays out in personal stories like Joanne's, and how emerging technology, these AI companions, can provide a critical, non-judgmental starting point for emotional recovery. A starting point that can lead to reclaiming one's purpose through community service.
And this raises an important question for you to mull over, to explore on your own. Our sources highlight a massive global trend. Empty nesters are projected to dominate 90% of older households by the year 2030.
9%, that's a staggering number.
It is. So given this growing societal need for connection and support, and at such a huge scale, is the strategic integration of AI encouragement and, say, mandatory community service or volunteering, is that the only viable, scalable path forward for mitigating loneliness as our demographics continue to shift?
A profound thought on how technology and purpose might intersect in the future of social support. Thank you for diving deep with us today.